Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Mates episode. I am Matthew, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Cal,
Hey man, lovely to see you. On today's show, we have a review that caps off a trilogy that we have recently been talking about, and that is, of course, our latest podcast episode about To All the Boys 1 and 2. Today it's the third one, which came out on Valentine's Day, didn't it, Callum? Or maybe the day before Valentine's Day,
uh, it came out on Friday, so two
Friday.
days before Valentine's
2 days
on
before
on the
Valentine's.
12th.
Yeah, well, Valentine's Day weekend, so I suppose it was appropriate for that type of film to be released. I mean, I'm gonna pass over to Callum to explain just a little bit about this movie just before we hop in with the review. So yeah, off to you, man.
Well, if Matthew's okay with it, we'll be talking about spoiler-free and spoiler side of this film. This film is the culmination of the logical high school trilogy, where of course tensions are present due to university choices.
Of
So
course.
that's sort of the main conceit of this film. That Lara Jean, will she get into this university? Will she get into this university? Who bloody knows?
Who knows? It's a
Well, we do
mystery.
because we've
It
seen it.
is.
But if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give too much away. We will be talking spoiler free initially. Uh, you know, her relationship with Peter is tested, I suppose, and we'll be getting into that. So check out the spoiler free review if you haven't seen it already. But watch the film if you haven't seen it because it is a good time, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And yeah, as Callum said, non-spoiler, and then a spoiler review, and of course, our time codes on our email is always in the description below. So yeah, I mean, just before we kick off today's mini review, thanks so much to everyone who supported recently. Cam and I really do appreciate that a lot. And yeah, as I said, time codes and stuff are there for you. So yeah, I mean, man, if you wanna open the floor with your non-spoiler thoughts first.
Well, firstly, but before we even watch the film, you see that this film is an hour and 56 minutes long, opposed to the previous two's an hour and 42 and hour and 40. And even before I saw the film, I was appreciative of the fact that it was a little bit longer because
Yeah.
I just love this world so much.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I agree. I think strangely it's the longest film, but it feels the most well paced and well edited, I think, out of the three. And also I think it with it being the final one in the trilogy, it stands to reason that it having that longer runtime just helps to conclude a lot of the arcs that were sort of present and continuing on in the other two films. But I mean, yeah, anything that helps develop the Peter and Lara Jean romance just for a bit longer in that runtime is always nice. And I actually do think this is where the romance is at its best out of the three films. Like I have to admit, I've been quite critical of Peter Kavinsky in the other two episodes, but I think in this film, I actually think the relationship is as sweet as it's ever been in the films. I think it's absolutely adorable. Towards the start, mainly because obviously not this isn't really a spoiler, but they go on dates and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, what did you think of the romance generally? Because I know we've sort of had similar opinions.
Well, I had previously referred to Noah Centineo / the Peter Kavinsky character as the human block of granite, and it's not incorrect to still refer to him as that, but I've definitely warmed to him by this film.
Yeah.
It's probably his best performance of the sort of generic Netflix original romance films. But I think who really shines in this film once again, who we've of course mentioned before as being our favorite actress within the series, favorite character, which is Lara Jean, played by Lana Condor. And we sort of previously talked about. I mean, I'd sort of strongly put forward that in P.S. I Still Love You, it kind of seemed like she was a bit disillusioned with the material, and even she couldn't really sell it. But here, I feel like her belief's been restored in the material because I think she sells it a lot better here.
Oh, completely, man, completely. And I think perhaps with this being the last one as well, she probably wanted to sort of end it on a high note as well. And I think generally the film definitely did do that. And obviously, without giving too much away, that this film does give characters who have previously been seen a lot more to do. Like there's a few subplots here and there, involving Peter. I know you're shaking your head there. I want to know why because I'm interested.
I'm shaking my head because this technically isn't a spoiler because it's something that doesn't happen in this film. But how dare they not include John Ambrose
John Ambrose.
McLaren? What the fuck are they doing?
Dude, I was on the Wikipedia for this film, right, looking at the cast. I was like, bloody hell, John Ambrose McLaren's back in this. And then I told you, and then we were pretty excited. And then they just fucked him off. They're just like,
Yeah,
nah, screw that guy. I'm devastated. I know you're more
I, I'm
devastated. Do
I'm
you love him?
I'm genuinely not happy because like I have seen these films several times, and I love John Ambrose so much more than I love Peter Kavinsky. Like
Hmm.
Peter Kavinsky, I'll take him or leave him, but we know
Sure.
that Lara Jean can do better. And
We
John
do.
Ambrose
We do.
McLaren gets absolutely tossed in the bin at the end of at the end of the second film. And I wanted to see that boy find love. I wanted him to get everything that he deserved,
He's a
and he
lovely
gets
lad.
nothing. He doesn't even
It's
get
a real
one
pity.
second of screen time.
It's a real pity, you know.
Shameful.
It is. It's shameful. If you're with us on this, John Ambrose McLaren should have been in this third film. You leave a comment down below for your support for John Ambrose McLaren. We want to see it. But yeah, I mean, apart from the devastating realization that he is absent from this movie, I think I think definitely the reason probably for that is because they maybe felt as if you know that they kind of created a character that's too good in the second film, so it kind of makes Peter look worse. So they kind of said, "Oh, we'll just bit him
Yeah,
off to make Peter look more likable in this one."
I think
And
so.
I think generally that does work, and there is a lot of characters that are a lot more likable here. You know, I'm not giving too much away again. The character of Jen, I think, is a lot more humanized here, and of course, you know, I've mentioned Peter has a lot more to do, you know, with the stuff with his family, those kind of things. And as well as Lara Jean's family, there's a lot of relationships that are new there and have built, and it's just it fleshes out the world a bit more. Like you said, you love this world, and I love it too. You know, it feels like a classic, obviously based on a book. It really does feel like the book brought to life. Sorry, a book brought to life. I haven't actually read it, but that's how I would imagine it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And you know, we've mentioned before that this is about the student's experience in applying to college.
Yeah.
And you know, just very recently, you know, what we had, you know, applied to university, gone to university, started university. Matthew's continued university. I've not continued university, and the you know the ache is still fresh. And I haven't really seen a film like this in a while, where it's sort of about that time in kids' lives. And I don't know. There's just something about it that makes me feel like I should have, you know, makes me question my own life decisions. Like I maybe should have broadened my horizons, because we of course see Lara Jean sort of applying to schools all across the country, and I don't know if I feel like I should have broadened my horizons. Do you ever feel that way?
Oh yeah, completely, Callum. Like I sometimes feel like, oh man, I should have applied to somewhere in England or somewhere like that. Obviously not that
Oxford University,
not no, not that I dislike my university. But you know,
of course not.
it's just you know, films like this where it's sort of similar to stuff that have recently happened in your own life. Obviously, you've mentioned university applications and whatnot. You know, we're a bit older than the characters in this film are, so it just makes me think like, you know, she would have done this, definitely would have done that. And obviously, I'm sure a lot of people, if you're listening, who are about our age or at university or thinking about applying to university, obviously it's a year where you know, it's not going to be your typical uni year, and I'd imagine next year it's not going to be like next semester, or sorry, next semester's not going to be like that either. So it's just one of those things. Like, don't if people are listening to this and I'm not sure what to do, just either take a gap year, I would advise, to figure something out, or just, you know, do what you want to do, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I think movies that deal with these kind of things, they're always quite you know, they're quite cliche in the sense that, you know, the Lara Jean will she, won't she kind of dynamic. But that being said, you know, I think that's why her character's so great. She is so relatable. She's like and she's just a fantastic lead for a film, you know, so sweet. And I mean yeah, the film really does I mean, she really does do a credit to the film in her performance, Lana Condor.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. You know, the characters are more likable here, and I agree with you definitely that this is the most likable that their relationship has been presented. You know,
Yeah.
I think we sort of talked about, you know, in the previous episode that, you know, there was sort of this unbalanced amount of effort. You know, where, well, I mean, Lara Jean seemed to care for him more, but he seemed to, you know, his only really, you know, demonstrations of his affection for her was buying her stuff. You know, so they were sort of,
Classic.
you know,
Yeah.
there were methods of communication that I don't really understand, and you know, neither of them actually seem to, you know, do stuff for each other that seemed like inconsiderate, and you know, sorry, that seemed considerate. That, you know, was an example of like going out of your way to help someone. And you know,
Yes.
I think we do see glimmers of that here, and
I
you know,
think so.
I think we see a bit more of an equal effort that I'd hoped to see.
Completely. I had written the same thing, but I think especially with the opening sort of date scenes at the start of the film, like it is really sweet, and you know, them watching movies together. Like it's a very you know, in a lot of teen romances, Callum, I think I think we'd probably both agree that like the relationships aren't always the most realistic or relatable. Whereas here, I actually find like just them going to dinner, and you know, they have a curfew, they those kind of things. It's really sweet. It's really, I think it's very realistic as well. Like they don't do anything like, you know, crazy. They're not like, you know, going on holidays together or anything like that. But I don't know. I just thought it was a really like sweet, just down to earth, classic sort of American teen romance. To be honest, I thought it was really without being cliche at the same time though.
Yeah, I had a very sad realization, and of course it's painfully obvious that this is, of course, the ending of the trilogy, and it was just a sort of punch to the gut that this is the last I'm going to see of Lara Jean. Because I
Yeah,
mean, I looked up and I did make a mistake in the previous episode. Apparently, the Kissing Booth had actually come out, a few months before the first All the Boys films, which, like, based on, because of course I watched them both when they came out, that just seems like that didn't happen. My mind is just
yeah, I know.
completely rewritten itself. It feels like I've been watching these films for 5 years, where it's only been less than three, which
Yeah,
just seems ridiculous to me.
yeah.
But I am really disappointed I'm not going to see any more of these characters.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, buddy? Especially with a movie universe or a trilogy like this, it is always sad when like the trilogy concludes because you kind of wonder like what the characters are going to do when the cameras stop rolling. And I've mentioned this so many times in the podcast before. I just like seeing ordinary people do ordinary people stuff, and that's just one of the great things about this movie. Do you know what I mean? And just these movies in general. But I mean, yeah, that generally concludes my non-spoiler remarks. Calm, anything from yourself?
Well, I was just going to ask you, because you're sort of you're a recent participant in this universe.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you got attached?
I did. No, I absolutely did. I'm a big sucker for these kind of films, and I actually think this is probably one of the better, teen Netflix rom coms. In general, it's definitely a lot better than The Kissing Booth, I think, and it's it's really it's up there with some of my favorites. Last Summer and things like that, and even though it's not a teen rom com, When We First Met is another one of my favorite Netflix
Hmm.
romances. So I mean, yeah, it stands to reason. Like it's a very good trilogy. I know you're attached to these, but where does it stack up for you in terms of Netflix rom coms?
Yeah, I think when it comes to rom coms, the first film in this series probably it probably goes in at like number two after Always Be My Maybe, with
Oh
Randall
yeah,
Park and Ali Wong, which I think was just fantastic. That came out a few years ago. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, man. I haven't seen it. I'll probably check it out
I,
though.
I would I would highly recommend, because it is like cheesy, it's kind of that feel good kind
Yeah,
of
I
adult
get
one,
you.
without being like the teenage cringe. So that there is a little bit of that present here, but just enough to be funny,
Yeah.
not enough to be painful like some of the Kissing Booth movies. I
Hmm.
will be kind of disappointed when they're done too, though.
Me too. I know because I think we've built such a like a deep nostalgia for it in our heads. Obviously, with our friend Cash doing the reviews, but I mean, yeah, even still, like there is some movies like I have in my life where I like they're not good movies, but I'm sort of I still get sort of sad when I see them, but not in a bad way. Like a really weird example for me is like the Night at the Museum movies, where like I can recognize they're probably not the best movies, but I just have a really nice sort of love and appreciation for them. I don't know if that makes sense. I just get movies like that where I can appreciate they're not great, obviously, but they're not. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're guilty pleasures, but there's certainly movies that just have a soft spot for me. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean this trilogy is definitely up there for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. So, Matthew, now that we've concluded the spoiler-free side of the review, I must ask, of course, massive hit or piece of shit?
Man, it's gotta be a massive hit. If people haven't seen this movie yet, I'll probably summarize my thoughts here just in case. But yeah, I mean, this movie's a massive hit for me. It's my favorite in the trilogy. I thought it was an excellent send off
Oh,
for the old. I know, an excellent send off for all the characters. And I have a lot to more to say in spoilers, of course, because a little bit more happens here than the other two, I think. But I mean, yeah, it's a really solid Netflix movie, I think. What about yourself, man?
yeah, I think these are fundamental high school stories, and I don't think we've really seen before an entire trilogy of high school. We see bits and pieces in films like The Breakfast Club, sort of
Yeah,
the
those
whole
kind of
Brat Pack
films. Yeah,
kind of filmography. With Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles. Those are always kind of anthology, or not connected whatsoever. So to see sort of this actually sort of progressive journey through the
definitely.
years, it kind of seems like what the excuse me,
You're okay.
it kind of seems like what the Spider-Man films kind of intend to do, kind of chronicling Peter's existence in high
Yeah,
school
definitely.
whilst balancing the superhero side of it. So I
Definitely.
mean, I think this is very successful in just doing that one facet of that kind of concept,
Yeah.
of just seeing this high school experience. And it is kind of true to it, because you encounter plenty of couples who are sort of sickening in the manner that these characters are here. There's nothing unrealistic here, except maybe some things in this thing, but it's kind of hard for us to gauge because of course we're not Americans,
American, yeah.
So we don't really know what the true high school experience is in America, but that this feels true to form. So I mean, of course, a massive hit.
Nice one. Yeah, absolutely. I think we both like this film a lot, so it's a very good send off, I think. But yeah, I mean, in regards to spoilers, mate, where do your notes start? To be honest, like, what I'll let you open the floor here.
Mine start with the massive fundamental problems of Peter and Lara Jean's relationship.
Lovely.
I've mentioned previously, and I think it's even more apparent here because, of course, they broke up in the last film. They break up here. The only time the problems arise in these films are failures in communication or dishonesty. Peter pretended to write that poem. Here, Lara Jean pretends for a bit too long that she got into Princeton. I truly believe that if she cleared that up immediately, Peter would be disappointed for her, not with her, and we do see that. I think I was happy that the issue was resolved early on, unlike how I imagine it will be, in the Kissing Booth 3. So I was happy that was sort of glossed over a little bit, that level of dishonesty because it was an accident.
Yeah.
But later on, just fundamental lack of communication just leads
I
to
think so.
huge issues in their relationship, and we'll talk about whether their end game, whether they'll last. I'm
I
sure
think
later on.
so. Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of instances here, isn't there, buddy, where it's the classic, Peter, I need to tell you something, and then Peter interrupts her with something that he has to tell her or something. I just had like a note here, just Peter, just listen to her for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like it would have
Yeah,
cut the movie's runtime drastically. But I mean, yeah, I think you're spot on, buddy. And I think when the Kissing Booth 3 comes out, it's gonna be interesting when we review that. Hopefully with Cash, because they're obviously quite similar movies, I would imagine. How do they stack up together? I'd imagine this movie is a lot better than that will be. But that being
absolutely.
said, I'm still a sucker for the Kissing Booth universe as well. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I do like it. But yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. The Peter and Lara Jean romance, as sweet as it may be, it is flawed. It is flawed. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I'll mention it now. I know the film gives Peter a subplot with his dad, who's been absent from his life. And I think that was actually a very smart move because it helps humanize the character. In the first two movies, he's kind of a jock, but here he's I don't know. I thought it was it's cliche, but sweet. What did you think in that move?
Yeah, I think it was well established. They've mentioned the dad, through the entire trilogy, so to sort of see him, that was a big moment.
Mm-hmm.
Although his dad sort of takes special consideration of Peter, doesn't seem to give a shit about Peter's younger brother.
Yeah.
To our knowledge, no effort made.
Yeah.
I guess
That's a
he's
good
just
point.
not important. But I mean, I don't think the dad tried hard enough. Of course, he
Yeah.
did kind of expect things to go, to go very smoothly. When he was the one to abandon Peter. It's
Yeah.
been presumably 3.5 years since he's seen him. So it was kind of a weak effort, but yeah, I think I appreciate the storyline for Peter. Because I talked about previously that my issue with him was that his entire character was Lara Jean's boyfriend, where in a lot of other films, a female character is narratively speaking, to the criticism of a kind of film like that, just the girlfriend of the main male character, and
Yes. Yeah.
we would always criticize that, but here Peter felt like his own character for the first time.
100%. I definitely agree with that.
And Matthew, I thought we may as well talk a little bit about field trips. I'm sure we'll do a whole episode on sort of high school films. Maybe some like
Sure.
Brat Pack.
Those
That
kind of films.
those
Yeah.
kind of films. But here, these people get to go to New York, and I would say the farthest and most exotic places that we ever went to were Murloc Beach for a geography assignment and a UCAS convention.
Dude, I was literally thinking the same thing. It's always in these American films. Obviously, Spider-Man: Far From Home. It's a European fucking, European holiday for goodness sake. But yeah, and this film it's New York. I mean, I'm so jealous. I mean, yeah, like you said, ours is like a dusty sort of, you know, beach in Newcastle, and a UCAS convention. Pretty much is the highlights of our. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else.
I genuinely I paused the film and sat for 10 minutes trying to think, and those were the only ones I could come up with, because I think
Dude.
there was a lot of rules, there are a lot of rules, in Northern Ireland, where I just think funding just isn't there, and maybe like
Yeah,
you're only
no,
allowed to
that's true.
transport a certain number of people at a certain amount of time, uh, at a certain time. I mean, we would frequently like visit other schools, but I mean, yay,
Yeah.
what what what, what an event.
Dude, literally, like, the one thing in regards to the field trip this movie absolutely smashes is when the teachers use alphabetized groups, which I absolutely detested. Even though, like, luckily we were always, if we were in this field trip, reasonably close in the alphabet surname wise, so it was kind of nice. But I mean, yeah, alphabetized groups is a nightmare, especially if you're all your friends are together and you're just in a group where you don't really know anyone. Like, it's
You
awful.
mean if you're trying to if you're trying to chat someone up,
Swing
and you're
some
like,
ladies.
oh, we're split up, unfortunately.
Oh no, can we switch groups? You know what I mean? And Peter actually tries that move, I suppose, here, doesn't he? But yeah, one thing as well in regards to this film, we've mentioned it gives other characters a lot more to do. It gives Lara Jean's dad a little bit of a romance on a subplot where he proposes to their neighbor Trina, which I thought was a very, very sweet move as well. Allows him to move on after the death of his previous wife. And as well as, I forget Lara Jean's younger sister's name, but she starts a romance
Kitty.
with a Kitty. That's it. Kitty starts a romance with a lovely gentleman in Korea. And one thing I had to laugh about, though, I don't know if this was the movie being self-aware, but Kitty and this lovely gentleman, I think his name's Day or something like that.
Yeah.
They're talking about the things they have in common, and one thing that Day points out is he says, "Look how much we have in common," and the only thing they have in common is that they speak the same language. I don't know if if the movie's being really self-aware there, that's like a gag, or is he being serious? So I wasn't too sure.
I think it must be. I think it's like, oh,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah, come
I
on,
mean,
yeah.
people do try to build a connection on less, I guess.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of the kissing booth romance with Lee and, oh, what's the other girl called?
Rachel,
Rachel. It's kind of reminded me of that,
why do I know this?
because you're a
Like,
top
what
fan.
what am I doing with my life?
Mate, this is a good use of your life. Don't underestimate yourself. It's important to have kissing booth filmography. Sorry, kissing booth filmography trivia. It's important. But yeah, I mean, I just think all the relationships that are built throughout the film makes the characters so much more likable. It gives them a lot more to do without the film ever feeling boring or long, I think.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of deep philosophical questions to be asked here. So there were just a couple
Yeah.
of moments that I picked out where I was like, "That's dumb." Lara Jean makes a list of movies to watch with Peter. X-Men Apocalypse, which of course had Lana Condor, and Charlie's Angels, which had Noah Centineo included. Uh,
Oh,
and this organized, meticulous woman, Lara Jean, she may have a messy bedroom, but she's still type A. She makes lists.
she
She
does.
writes a journal, and this woman puts tick boxes beside this list and then crosses them out instead.
Monster.
She woke up and chose violence.
Yeah, like literally, if you can have tick boxes, mate, the clues in the title, you tick them off. You don't draw a line through it, Dara Jane. What are you doing? Maybe yeah, that's why she didn't get in. That's why she didn't get into Princeton. She didn't use her tick boxes. But yeah, what was I going to say here? Sorry, my notes are a mess. One thing, yeah, I wanted to say as well is, obviously I've mentioned the character of Jen, and I think she's a lot more. She's sort of characterized as sort of the I don't know, the not the bully, but like the nasty person in the film, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's hard to say
The
villain, but
mean
sort of
girl.
mean, yeah, exactly, yeah, the mean girl. But here, I don't know, I thought she was a lot more like, well, obviously, they in the trip to New York, they managed to somehow get like a full-on sofa in the in the train carriage, which I thought was quite sweet. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a really smart move from the film as well, to have a different setting rather than the classic high school setting in Portland, I think it is. But yeah, having New York, and it's very well shot as well. Like, the film looks incredible.
I think so. And there's a sequence near the end where that leads to the eventual breakup between the two main characters, which is the prom. And
Yeah,
there's a moment where they're all dancing, and this is sort of seen in a lot of media. Every time there's a big group of people dancing, they always form a circle, and then they have someone in the middle doing a dance. And I
missing some
cannot even
moves.
comprehend the anxiety of being the only
When it gets to
person
your turn.
dancing in a circled crowd. I would rather die
But you have some good. You're a good dancer, but it is very awkward. It would be a
That's
bit.
not true,
It
Matthew.
is. It definitely is.
Let's be honest. There have been times, during like icebreaker games where someone leaves the room and they come back and they have to figure out who's like started the dance move within the circle. Because everyone's like following a
What?
leader.
What's
Have you not
that?
played this game?
Um,
Have you
um,
not played this game?
was this like a couple summers ago? Or
Well,
what is this game?
this was a while ago, but someone. Okay, this is a game, but you have a circle of people. Someone leaves, then someone is chosen to like pick a dance move, and then everyone copies that dance move. Yeah. So then within the group, someone has to come back, and then they have to decide who is like the leader that they're
Oh,
following.
right. Okay. Oh,
But
yes, I remember this.
genuinely,
Yeah.
I like thinking back on what I did. I am horrified.
What was the
Like I'm
move?
actually
Oh.
I'll show you later, but like genuinely, I hate myself.
I remember that. I actually do remember that. Yes, and yeah, it's one of those things where it's a classic prom or wedding tradition, that isn't it? Like the old circle with the one in the middle tradition. It's so I'd be so socially awkward to do to start off
Yeah,
the
the
dance
idea
move.
makes me feel
Just
sick.
dancing in general. It's just I don't know. I just find it so awkward. Maybe if around people you're comfortable around, it's fine. But just in general, just not for me. Like I was
No.
caught like I was caught dancing in McDonald's a few shifts ago, and yeah, there's like a customer at the drive-thru. It was awkward, but yeah, it's just not my forte generally. But
No,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty for it. When I'm drunk. But aside from that, just woeful.
Oh man, yeah, that's true. That's true. Any more points from you,
So,
buddy?
well, we talked about the fundamental flaws of this relationship. And I just detest Peter. I'll be honest.
Fair enough.
He has this huge expectation that Lara Jean will form all of her plans around him. Like what he says, why won't you go to USC, to be near me? You've chosen to move away from me. Like, why don't you go to one near her, dickhead? Like
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
been dating for like a year and a half, and he wants her to essentially sign away 4 years to him.
that's
He,
true.
he says that she actively doesn't want to be in a relationship with him because she hasn't chosen to go to one near him. He hasn't chosen to go to one near her.
That's so true. Like he expects her to make all the moves in the relationship. He expects her to make the sacrifices, doesn't he?
Yeah, like
Classic Peter.
you see, it's where I'm saying, I don't think there's an equal effort. Again, I don't think Lara Jean does anything for him, like, as in, you know,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I actively, does stuff, but for on his behalf, she plans a lovely date. To be fair, you know, a movie nostalgia trip. It is a lovely date. To the bowling alley, and she makes the decisions that will in the end benefit him, but he just has expectations that he will not oblige to respond with.
Yeah. Do you think they're endgame then?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's get into this.
Let's get into it.
At the end of the film, we see that Lara Jean has, of course, moved to New York, and she clearly is intent on pursuing a relationship with Peter, and she like her narration is a bit cheeky at the end. It's like,
Ooh.
yeah, I know what you're all thinking. You think that we're not going to make it. She's right. You are breaking up immediately. She's like, but we're different. We're Lara Jean and Peter.
Oh,
That doesn't make you a stronger couple the most. Like, you can't even communicate when you see each other every day. A long distance relationship will kill them. Like 100% their relationship is done.
this is where John Ambrose McLaren comes into the picture and sweeps Lara Jean off her feet in New York. That's what I think. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the film wants us to suggest that they're together, obviously by that narration, but it is hard to say with all the great points you've said, about them, about the relationship not being, strong or 100% for the most part. But yeah, I don't know. I want them to end up together, but at the same time, I kind of don't, because I feel like they're very different as well. But I don't know.
Just
Just
has
John
no
Ambrose McLaren.
personality.
Yeah, just where's John Ambrose McLaren? We need him. You know what I mean?
I
He
know.
would have been ideal.
He'll play a little ditty on the piano and then
Yeah, yeah,
sweep
he
her off her
would.
feet.
He would. He absolutely would, mate. He would. Yeah. Any more comments from you, buddy?
No, nothing further from me, Matthew.
No worries. Well, what would you rate it out of 10, man? If you were going to wrap up.
Well, if I had to rank the three films, I would say the first film, far and above the best. Then there's the sequel. Sorry. Then there's this one. Then there's the second film.
Mhm.
And I think I rated the first one, I think, an 8 out of 10, and the second a 7.5 out of 10. So I would say that this one is closer to being the quality of the first than it is the second. So I'd probably have to give it a strong 8. I think it's maybe a bit generous, but if you take into context comparing it to the other films in the franchise, comparing it to all the other films on Netflix, if you of course compare it to every other film ever made, different story,
Yeah,
presumably,
sure.
probably five, but comparing it to the other films in the series, the standard on Netflix, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd likewise also give it an 8. It's, as I said, it's my favorite in the trilogy, but I can recognize the problems as well with it. But yeah, I think it's very well paced, very well edited, and I'm happy it is the longest out of the three. I think it needed to be with all the issues that it concludes and deals with. But yeah, I mean, that wraps up another Netflix teen rom com. So thanks very much, Callum, for today. I appreciate your
Yeah.
time, buddy. And yeah, of course, check out our playlists as well. This will be in a few, including the romantic or romance playlist or Netflix original playlist, those kind of things. And yeah, if you haven't checked out our previous ones, we did obviously Kissing Booth and obviously the first two. So check those out as well. And yeah, thanks for all the support recently, guys. Hope you're all safe and well. Hope your family and friends are all safe and well too. Take care and bye bye.
Bye bye.